Excuse me, this Raisin Bran's got 2 scoops.
So?
Well, I don't deserve something this special.
Why not?
Well, I haven't done anything good enough to deserve the 2 scoops of Kellogg's. So just give me the ordinary stuff.
You must have done something good.
Nope.
I gotta say, the only thing better than beating mono Red Goblins in Historic is beating mono Red Goblins by making them scoop. And we absolutely do make them scoop. This is Starving Artist. This is my take on a Golgari Sacrifice deck, but it's got a very spicy inclusion in Fiend Artisan, which I don't see many people run. Let's check it out. Alright, so today we are playing Golgari Sacrifice. And we've got a little spicy addition in the form of Fiend Artisan. Absolutely love this card. We'll get back to that later. The core of the deck revolves around Priest of Forgotten Gods, Blood Artist, and Bastion of Remembrance. Now what you want to do is get as many Bastion of Remembrance and Blood Artists onto the field as quickly as possible, and then use Priest of Forgotten Gods to sacrifice your creatures, get a bunch of triggers off those to drain the opponent's health, and then generate mana and generate card advantage so that you can keep the engine going and keep doing it. How do we do this? We have a ton of cheap creatures and recursive creatures. So we have 4 Llanowar Elves, 4 Gilded Goose, 4 Serrated Scorpions, and 2 Plagued Rusalkas. Now having 14 1-drops gives us a pretty good chance of being able to drop one on turn 1 and then drop a second one on turn 3, so that when we activate our Priest of Forgotten Gods and get our 2 extra mana, we actually have 4 mana left on turn 3 and can make some plays that are really ahead of the mana curve. Incredibly important. The 14 1-drops helps us statistically get to 2 on turn 3, which is really what we need with this deck. It works really, really well. The 8 green creatures serve as extra mana production so that we can just completely ramp into all the things we need to play as quickly as possible, while still having their bodies on the field to be something we can sack later on to generate all those triggers we were talking about earlier. The 4 Serrated Scorpions are insane because not only are we getting the triggers off of the Blood Artist and the Bastion of Remembrance when we sack this guy, but we're also getting its own trigger, which is draining them for an additional 2, which can be, it can really add up over time. The 2 Plagued Rusalkas are something I'm not seeing many people do, but it's nice to have a 1-drop creature that fits that part of the curve, but also serves as a backup sacrifice outlet later in the game. If you just get to the point where you have a couple Bastions of Remembrances or Blood Artists down and you just need to get rid of creatures on your side to close out the game, you can just sack things to Plagued Rusalka and then get there on your own, not have to rely on the opponent killing your stuff for you. Very, very valuable. Being a creature, it's also something we can bring back with some of our recursive elements if we need it, again, to be our sack outlet. But we can also use it to sack our creatures to give their creatures -1/-1. We can take out things like goblins, specific goblins we don't want them to have, like an early Skirk Prospector to shut down their ramp, or we can use it to get rid of like an opposing Llanowar Elf, or a lot of the little creatures that do a lot for our opponent. We can use the Plagued Rusalka to actually take them out as well in a deck where we don't really suffer so much from losing our creatures because we have a lot of ways to get them back. Speaking of that, the ways that we're getting them back are our 1 copy of Lurrus. Now granted it's only 1 copy, but we have the 4 copies of Fiend Artisan I brought up earlier, and Fiend Artisan will actually let us sack one of our little dudes to find Lurrus and bring it into play, and then we can immediately use Lurrus to replay the little guy. Very important. We've also got 3 copies of Agadeem's Awakening in our mana base, and Agadeem's Awakening is great in this deck because of all the ramp we have with the mana dudes. So we can usually cast this mid-game quicker than most decks can, and actually get back a 1, 2, and 3 drop all at once, with the 3 drop being something like a Lurrus, and really go to town. We've also got 1 copy of Woe Strider, because again, if we get into a situation where we just need to sack our side of the board to win, we can drop the Woe Strider and make that happen. And even if they kill it, we can escape it back later on a key turn when we really need it to win, and then still make it happen. We've also got the ability to, again, search that out with the Fiend Artisans. And that's really where the Fiend Artisan's strength lies, is it sort of turns all of your little 1-of dudes into 5-ofs. It increases your consistency without mucking up the deck with a bunch of needless extra copies, which is especially important for legendary creatures like Lurrus, but it's also important for stuff like Woe Strider, where you don't want a bunch of these. So, we round out the deck with 2 copies of Midnight Reaper because we want a decent chance of drawing into it, but again, it's something we can search up with Fiend Artisan, and we want to be able to draw cards off this when we're sacking all of our stuff and doing our shenanigans, and a lot of times that's enough just to take us over the top. We've got 3 copies of Call the Death Dweller. That's going to bring back our 1 and 2 drops. A lot of times Priest will die early to removal, and we can just bring this back with Call along with a 1 drop to use with it, and it can be really, really effective. It's also worth noting the Blood Artist I brought up earlier is really, really good because when their creatures die, they'll get drained as well, which can be really, really powerful in the right circumstances. And then at the end of the curve, we have just 1 copy of Bolas' Citadel. Bolas' Citadel is absolutely amazing in this deck. The mana creatures allow us to ramp to where we need to be to cast this a lot sooner than we otherwise would, and we can just close out the game if we drop this thing. If we draw it too early, sometimes it's very detrimental, which is why I'm only running 1. But if we get it in just the right circumstances, we can just drop the Bolas Citadel, play out almost our entire deck, sack everything to stuff like Woe Strider, or the Priests, or the Plagued Rusalka, or even just the Bolas Citadel itself, to do tons and tons of damage and drain them for a bunch and win the game. We actually do this in one of the games, and it's absolutely insane. So, this is the deck. We've got, the mana base is super, super low to the ground. We've got 4 Fabled Passage, 1 Temple Garden, 2 Woodland Cemeteries, 4 Overgrown Tombs, 1 Forest, 3 Swamps, and 3 Castle Locthwains. This makes for a very, very little amount of mana. It's just enough mana to usually get to 2 or 3, and Priest will get us the rest of the way, or some of our other card drawing engines. But again, having the rampers early in these green creatures really helps us circumvent the need for as many lands, which means we can draw into more gas later in the game. Some of these lands are really spicy choices, like the 1 Temple Garden is to consistently be able to drop something on turn 1 that can generate green, that can then still generate mana to play a Lurrus on turn 3. And I know that seems very fringe, but with the math I worked out for the deck, it actually works really, really well. Instead of having a second forest, we have the 1 Temple Garden, because there are circumstances where if we got a second forest within our first 3 turns, we then can't play Lurrus on turn 3, and that actually can matter sometimes. So just the 1 Temple Garden is great. Woodland Cemetery, not as good as some of the other lands, because we want our green on turn 1, but then we want to have that green be black on turn 2. Woodland Cemetery cannot be green on turn 1. It needs to come out turn 2 or later, which means we're missing our Llanowar Elves and Gilded Goose drops, which is really all we need our green for. So only having 2 here seems to be better. The full playset of Overgrown Tombs, just the 1 forest to search out with the Fabled Passage, 3 Castle Locthwains, because when we run out of gas, this thing just keeps refilling our hand and it gets insane. And then of course the 3 Agadeem's Awakening, which serves as a land in the early game, but again can be absolute gas in the late game. So this is my take on Golgari Sacrifice in Historic right now. I think it's really, really powerful. I think Fiend Artisan is really underutilized. The ability to get your key threats with Fiend Artisan when they remove them with their removal spells is really important. A lot of times you'll have a Fiend Artisan and the thing they want to get rid of down, and they can only get rid of one thing, so they're kind of screwed either way. because you just use your Fiend Artisan to get back the thing that you need, like a Priest of Forgotten Gods or a Blood Artist or even Lurrus in some cases. So I think this version is really powerful. I think the math is really just right, and let's jump into the games. Felipe Akiras. This is good. We'll lead with the Overgrown Tomb untapped so that we can play the Elves. We don't mind taking the damage so much. Witch's Oven! Well, that's not acceptable. Who plays with Witch's Oven? Ridiculous. We'll play Fiend Artisan out. Swing one. Again, it tapped me incorrectly. Well, we'll lose our whole team if we do that. That's not good. No blocks. We can't allow him to 2-for-1 us there. We just have to let this thing keep hitting us and try to build up a board. Or he just does that. And I'm completely okay with that. Get down the Blood Artist in case he uses removal on the Priest. At least we'll get to ping him. We can toss these out next turn, use them as sack fodder for the Priest. Dreadhorde Butcher. Well, that's not good. No blocks. Do have a Lurrus. The Dreadhorde Butcher can kill the Lurrus. So I think we just do this. Swing one. Now what we want to do is kind of catch him with his pants down. Okay, he's gonna play a Priest. My turn, he says. Okay. That's fine. Now here's what we want to do. We want to target the Butcher. Sack the Elf while we still have the green. Sack that. Then was just gonna play the Lurrus, but I think killing his Priest is actually better. We'll swing one. And then hopefully he doesn't have a Kroxa. I don't think this deck runs Kroxa. But we can just play Lurrus next turn. And then we should be in pretty good shape. So we'll crack the passage for a swamp. Play Lurrus. What do we want back? Big hunk of Fiend Artisan, maybe? Our own priest, maybe? Let's do that. So now he has 2 targets he desperately needs to get rid of in the Lurrus and the Fiend Artisan. But we've also got this Rusalka that we can sack if he activates a priest. So it's going to be really hard for him to get rid of both of these. As long as one of these survives, we're in pretty good shape. I think he sacks both of those guys he just got. That makes sense to me. Nope. He's going to keep the Reaper, which is dangerous. He's going really low. Really, really low. Ow. That was really rough. No blocks. He is so low on life now, though. Incredibly low. If I trade with the Midnight Reaper here, that's kind of okay, because he'll take another point of damage and have one less thing to sack to priest. Will trigger Blood Artist. So I'm actually okay with it. Yeah, see, now if my Scorpion dies, he takes 3. If he activates Priest, I sack the Scorpion, so... Alright, he's eating all his foods. That's fine. He can't really do anything else. Worst case scenario, we can draw off our castle. We're not worried about our life yet, so we'll play it out in case we draw into a 2-drop. No tax. Not yet. So now every time he activates that Blood Artist is going to ping him. Which means he doesn't actually gain life from it anymore. And in fact, he doesn't even do damage to us anymore. It's the perfect counter to the Cat Oven, I guess. Plays a Woe Strider. That's fine. Sure. Ping, ping. Blood Artist is really good. that. Ping another 3 times. Getting really low, even after all the foods. The Night Reaper's just gonna get him lower. It's probably a bad idea. Already gains back the point, but he'll lose it again. Nope, he's just gonna eat the food. That's fine. Ooh, we've got Bolas' Citadel. That might be it for us. That might be it. Play out the Woe Strider. Play out a priest. Play out a land. We'll wait to crack it. How does this work? Is it just gonna take 3 of our life? I think that's probably fine. Ugh. And we didn't even hit a non-land. That's okay. That's okay. Back mana. We'll go Rusalka. We'll go Woe Strider, sack that. Blood Artist ping. Get rid of that land. Do it again. Woe Strider, sack priest. We'll ping. Get rid of that land. We'll do it again. Woe Strider, sack the goose. We'll ping. Get rid of that land. Alright, Bastion. That's good. Fiend Artisan. Woe Strider. Sack the 1/1. Ping ping. Get rid of that land. Fiend Artisan. We go down to 2. And then when I sack, we'll go down to 1. That seems fine. Sack a Midnight Reaper. Get rid of the castle. Play a goose. And now we've got it. Sack the goose. Ping ping. He's trying really hard. Unfortunately, he triggered his own Midnight Reaper. And that is going to be the downfall. We still got 2 on the stack. We got him. It's not a whole lot you can do against that. Everybody seems to be scooping today. We'll keep this. It's not incredible. Have to play this tapped, unfortunately. Pay 3 life here. Need to be able to get out more things. So I think I don't really like waiting to put Priest out, but I think we kind of need to. Pass the turn. Alright. So we do have a Fabled Passage. 3 more mana. Play out you. Play out another Scorpion. Play out the Passage. Pass turn. Next turn we should be able to have a really big turn. Hopefully he's not quite ready to go off yet. We'll see. For some reason, the audio is always awful here. Awful loud. I don't know what it is. Alright, pass to attackers. It does have a lot of attacks. Do we just take 10? That is a good question. Do we just take 10? Do want to kill that chieftain next turn. We're gonna need things to sacrifice to do that. No blocks. We'll just take 10. Sack this. We'll get a swamp. Alright, so we want Blood Artist in play for sure. Then we want to go submit, go you and you. Ping, we'll ping. We'll ping. Now we've got 4 more mana. Plagued Rusalka. 2 Plagued Rusalka activations. That leaves us with kind of nothing. Right? Yeah. I think we just have to do that. Pass turn. The idea here is we're hoping we can just take away all the haste. Try to get him to move to combat. Target you. Sack the Scorpion. Same thing here. Boom. Sack the Rusalka. Ping. Now, those 9 do not have haste, and all of his other guys are only 1/1s. Which is pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7's 14, right? Yeah, that's not enough to kill us. So I think we can just take it. Cool. Now, what do we do? We've got Serrated Scorpions in the graveyard, so we go boom, boom. Bring back both the Serrated Scorpions. Doesn't matter. We activate Priest, sack them both, and we should smash him for 8. We got him. Nice. We'll keep this. Play this untapped so we can play a goose. And then next turn we probably just play another goose and a blood artist. To have the fodder out, to have him ready to go. It was either that or play Bastion of Remembrance, and both kind of do the same thing. The only difference here is that we have another food to crack to play something now. So we'll play Fabled Passage. We have a total of 3 mana. Feel like he's gonna counterspell. That's probably kind of bad for us. Let's try and play the Plagued Rusalka. He lets it through. Now he probably counterspells the Priest. He knows the Rusalka was bait. Nope, he doesn't. Pass turn. Next turn should be huge. Should be. Cast out, enters the battlefield. Excellent. Online permanent. Alright. Sure. Alright, we'll grab a swamp here. Took out a key piece of our engine, which is somewhat unpleasant. We're gonna back up our board with Bastion, and then just swing with Rusalka. So now we're in a position where if he board wipes, he's going to take 10 damage. Which is not awful. Because he really wants to board wipe. If we can get the Blood Artist down, he'll actually take 18 damage if he board wipes. Which will be nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Mind and body, keep an open mind.
He's got a Cleansing Nova. Yep. Like, go ahead. Go ahead and board wipe. I don't even care what you draw. I literally don't even care what you draw. He needs to exile our board. He can't do it. The best he can do is use that Cleansing Nova to take out our Bastion instead of our creatures.
I have just the trick for
He's going to be in really rough shape here. He's got a Wrath. That doesn't help him. He'll die. He literally dies if he wipes our board. We have 3 triggers off every creature. And we have 6 creatures. Absolutely nutty. Scoop! Come on, scoop. You know you want to scoop. Oh, he doesn't want to scoop. We'll make a food. Well, we'll just do it ourselves, I guess, right? He might have a counter spell, though. If he has a counter spell, that would be sad. Let's try and bait the counter spell first. Yep. Well, we knew that was coming. We can get him for 1. Could sack a bunch of creatures here. No, we can only sack 2, which means we couldn't kill the wall. And in that situation, it's just not worth it. He is in a really rough spot, though. He basically just has to counter everything, because he can't let another creature hit the field. Come on, scoop. He's going for it. Wow, he's going for it. He's gonna go to 3. All right. So he goes to 3. I think he just doesn't have a counterspell maybe, and he knows he needs to do it now while it's not lethal. That is the only thing I can think of. Oh, he goes to 1 because his wall dies. Goose, which honestly would be enough to kill him. If the goose dies, he dies. So now we just kill him because we have Woe Strider. Should've scooped. Told him to scoop. He didn't listen. 1 scoop. 2 scoops. 3 scoops. Everything a grown boy needs. 3 scoops is better than 2 scoops. So it's better than Raisin Bran, I guess. Anyway, give the deck a like. Maybe leave a comment if you like it. And subscribe to the channel because that helps us more than anything. And until next time, just make them scoop.